Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel 195 Nations where I give mind-blowing reviews about nations we have in the world. Please subscribe. You do not miss mind-blowing facts, culture and history about different nations of the world. Today we're diving into a topic that's been making headlines around the world. It's a bit of a sensitive subject, but we're all about keeping things real here, right? We're talking about countries that have imposed restrictions on Russian citizens entering their borders. I know, it sounds crazy. We're living in a modern world and the idea of closed borders feels like something out of a history book. But the reality is, international relations can be super complicated. Now, I'm not here to take sides or point fingers. Our goal today is to simply present you with the facts, give you some context, and let you form your own opinions. We're all about promoting understanding and having open conversations. So buckle up, guys, because we're about to explore a list of 10 countries where Russians aren't exactly welcome in 2024. Let's get started. First up on our list is Ukraine. The situation between Russia and Ukraine is incredibly complex and goes way back. In recent years, tensions have been especially high. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 and the ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine have strained relations. Millions of Ukrainians have been displaced, and there's a lot of mistrust on both sides. Ukraine is taking steps to protect their sovereignty and citizens. Now, even though Ukraine has imposed restrictions on Russian citizens entering the country, it's important to remember that this doesn't mean that Ukrainians hate all Russians. In fact, many Ukrainians have friends and family members in Russia, and they understand that ordinary Russian citizens are not responsible for the actions of their government. However, the reality is that the Ukrainian government feels it needs to take these measures for security reasons. They're trying to prevent Russian agents from entering the country and potentially destabilizing the situation further. It's a difficult balancing act, and there are no easy answers. What we're seeing here is a human tragedy unfolding on a massive scale. It's a reminder that peace is fragile, and we need to work together to build bridges of understanding and empathy. So while Ukraine might have closed its borders to some Russians, let's hope that one day soon they'll be able to open their hearts to each other once again. Next up, we're heading over to Poland, a country with its own complex history with Russia. Just like Ukraine, Poland has had its fair share of run-ins with its powerful neighbor to the east. In recent years, Poland has emerged as one of the most vocal critics of Russia's foreign policy. They've been particularly concerned about Russia's military buildup and its actions in Ukraine. So it probably won't come as a surprise that Poland has also imposed restrictions on Russian citizens entering the country. Now, it's not just about history and politics. Poland has also been on the front lines of providing support to Ukraine since the conflict began. They've welcomed millions of Ukrainian refugees with open arms, offering them food, shelter, and a sense of safety. This incredible act of solidarity has only strengthened Poland's resolve to stand up to Russian aggression. They see what's at stake, they understand the human cost of conflict, and they're not backing down. Poland's message is clear. We stand with Ukraine, we will not be intimidated, and we will do whatever it takes to protect our security and the security of our allies. It's a powerful statement, and it's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, courage and compassion can prevail. Lithuania, guys, number 3 on our list. This Baltic nation has been rocking the boat, and by that I mean they've been super outspoken against Russia's moves. We're talking straight up condemnation and some serious consequences. Think about it. Lithuania was actually part of the Soviet Union. They know exactly what it's like to be under Russia's thumb, and they are not having it, not one bit. They've been pushing for tougher sanctions and have been supplying aid to Ukraine like it's going out of style. And that's not all. Lithuania's taken a hard line on Russian propaganda too. They shut down some media outlets, and let me tell you, that's a big deal. It shows they're serious about protecting their democracy and their people. So yeah, Lithuania is not exactly rolling out the red carpet for Russians right now. Travel bans are in effect, and it's not looking like that's changing anytime soon. They're standing strong, sending a message loud and clear. Back off! Now, Lithuania's stance isn't just about politics, it's personal. They've got a shared history with Russia, and it hasn't always been pretty. They remember what happened and they're determined to prevent it from happening again. See, for Lithuanians, this isn't just some far-off conflict. It hits close to home. They see what's happening in Ukraine and they feel the urgency to act, to protect their own freedom and independence, and they're not alone. Lithuania is part of NATO and the European Union, and they've been working closely with their allies to put the pressure on Russia. It's a united front and they're sending a clear message. We're in this together. So, yeah, Lithuania's not backing down. They're standing their ground, protecting their borders, and making it crystal clear that aggression won't be tolerated. It's a bold move, but hey, that's Lithuania for you. All right, next up, we've got Latvia, another Baltic country that's not messing around when it comes to Russia. They're taking a stand against what they see as a real threat, and they're not afraid to put their foot down. Latvia's been watching Russia's moves very closely, and they're not impressed. They've seen the annexation of Crimea, the war in Ukraine, and they're like, nope, not happening here. They're determined to protect their sovereignty. So, what are they doing? Well, they've implemented some serious measures to limit Russian influence. We're talking travel restrictions, economic sanctions, the whole 9 yards. They're tightening the screws to show Russia they mean business. And it's not just about economics. Latvia's also been beefing up its defenses, working closely with NATO allies to make sure they're ready for anything. They're sending a clear message: don't even think about it. Latvia's been incredibly supportive of Ukraine since the beginning of the conflict. We're talking humanitarian aid, military equipment, the works. They're putting their money where their mouth is and showing the world where they stand. And it's not just the government. The Latvian people have really stepped up too. They've been welcoming Ukrainian refugees with open arms, providing them with food, shelter, and support. It's heartwarming to see, but Latvia's not just reacting to the current situation, they're thinking long-term. They're working to reduce their dependence on Russian energy, investing in renewable sources and diversifying their economy. Latvia's sending a powerful message to the world. They're not going to be bullied, they're not going to back down, and they're going to stand up for what they believe in. It's a message of resilience, of courage, and of hope. Estonia, guys, this small but mighty Baltic nation is number 5 on our list, and let me tell you, they're not holding back when it comes to Russia. They've got a bone to pick, and they're not afraid to let the world know it. Estonia's been super vocal about its opposition to Russia's actions, and they've got good reason to be. They were under Soviet rule for decades, and they know firsthand what happens when Russia gets too big for its britches. So yeah, Estonia's not playing games. They've implemented some of the toughest entry bans on Russians, making it crystal clear that they're not welcome. They're sending a message: you want to play dirty? Fine, we can play too. And it's not just talk. Estonia's been bolstering its defenses, investing in cybersecurity and working closely with its NATO allies. They're taking every precaution to make sure they're ready for anything. Now, here's the thing about Estonia. They're incredibly tech-savvy. Like, seriously, these guys are light years ahead. They've embraced the digital world like no other country, and they're using it to their advantage. Estonia's been on the front lines of cyber defense, developing cutting-edge technologies to protect their critical infrastructure and their citizens' data. They're basically a digital fortress, and they're sharing their expertise with the world. They've been training other countries on how to defend against cyber attacks because they know that in this day and age a digital attack can be just as damaging as a physical one. Estonia is sending a clear message to Russia and any other potential aggressor: don't underestimate us. We may be small, but we're mighty, and we're not afraid to fight back in the real world or the digital one. All right, guys, next up on our list of countries where Russians aren't exactly welcome is Georgia. You might remember Georgia from back in 2008 when things got a little heated between them and Russia. It was a whole big conflict, and even though it's been over for a while, it's left some serious tension in the air. We're talking about that kind of tension where you walk into a room and you can just feel the awkwardness, because of this whole situation. Georgia's been putting its foot down when it comes to letting Russians in. It's not a total ban or anything, but they're definitely playing it safe and being extra careful about who they let through their borders. It's a bummer for anyone who just wants to visit and experience Georgian culture, but hey, safety first, right? Let's hope things cool down between these two countries soon. So, how does Georgia actually keep Russian citizens out? Well, they've made it a lot harder for Russians to get visas. You know, those little stamps you need in your passport to actually enter a country. Basically, it's like trying to win one of my challenges, but instead of a giant cash prize, you get permission to visit Georgia. And let me tell you, the odds aren't exactly in your favor. On top of that, there's a lot of political back and forth happening between Georgia and Russia. It's like they're stuck in a never-ending argument and nobody can agree on who started it. This just adds another layer of complication to the whole situation, making it even tougher for Russians who just want to visit Georgia and see what it's all about. Next up, we're heading over to Central Europe, to the Czech Republic. Now, the Czech Republic has been super supportive of Ukraine since the whole conflict with Russia started. They've been sending aid, taking in refugees, and basically doing everything they can to help out their neighbors. And part of that support means taking a strong stance against Russia. The Czech Republic isn't afraid to call out what they see as wrong, and they're definitely not afraid to take action. So they've been putting some restrictions on Russian citizens entering the country. They're not completely banned, but it's definitely not as easy as it used to be. The Czech Republic has hit Russia with some pretty serious sanctions. We're talking about economic measures that make it tougher for Russia to do business and basically put pressure on them to change their ways. And on top of those sanctions, they've also got travel bans in place for certain Russian officials and people who are seen as supporting the conflict. It's like a VIP list, but instead of getting into the best parties, you're banned from entering the Czech Republic. So if you're Russian and planning a trip to Prague, you might want to double-check those entry requirements. Just saying, it's always better to be safe than sorry, right? All right, guys, now we're talking about Finland. They share a pretty long border with Russia, like seriously long. We're talking over 800 miles of border. For years, things were pretty chill between them. Finns could cross over to Russia, Russians could come to Finland. Everyone was happy, but then, well, you know the story. The situation between Russia and Ukraine changed everything. Suddenly, having Russia as a next-door neighbor didn't seem so simple anymore. Finland had to make some tough choices about their own security, and that's how they ended up on our list. Finland didn't completely shut down their border with Russia. That would be pretty extreme, even with everything going on. But they did make it a whole lot harder for Russians to cross over. Think of it like trying to get past one of my obstacle courses, except instead of inflatables and slime, you've got border patrol and paperwork. They've also cracked down on tourist visas for Russians. It's not impossible to get one, but it's definitely not as easy as it used to be. Finland's all about keeping their country safe and secure, and these stricter border measures are just part of that. All right, guys, coming in at number 9, we have Sweden. Sweden might be known for its neutrality, but they're not messing around with security. They've stepped up their game, being more careful about who they let in. Think of it like an exclusive club with a bouncer. Sweden's kind of like that right now. It's tougher for Russians to get past the velvet rope these days. They're being super cautious, checking things thoroughly. It's all about keeping things safe and sound. Now, I know what you're thinking, Mr. Beast, what does this actually mean for Russians who want to visit Sweden? It's not a complete ban, but it's definitely more complicated. Sweden has put some pretty strict rules in place for Russian citizens. Even if you get a visa, there's no guarantee you'll be allowed in. This has caused some controversy, with some saying it's unfair to punish all Russians, but Sweden's determined to protect its borders. So if you're Russian, you might need to put those plans on hold. And last but not least, at number 10, we have Norway. Known for its stunning fjords and breathtaking landscapes, Norway's usually a pretty welcoming place. But lately they've implemented some pretty strict entry requirements, especially for Russian citizens. It's like trying to get into an exclusive restaurant with a strict dress code. They're serious about protecting their borders and maintaining security. So, if you're Russian, be prepared to jump through a few hoops. Now, I know what you're thinking. Miss Beast, what exactly are these strict entry requirements? Russian citizens now need to provide more documentation, visa applications, proof of financial stability, detailed itineraries. But instead of a paycheck, you get to experience the beauty of Norway. There's still a chance you could be rejected. Norwegian authorities are carefully scrutinizing each application, and they're committed to keeping Norway a safe and peaceful country. So if Norway's on your travel bucket list, just be prepared to do your homework. The fjords will be worth it, right? Wow, that was a lot to cover. We just went through 10 countries where Russians might face some extra hurdles when traveling in 2024. It's a complicated situation with a lot of factors at play. If you found this video informative, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.